So today we are going to talking about transforming a writing experience with this new easy blogging tool. This is something that I really have put a lot of thought and energy into thinking about. Um, I think that there is a part of us, Deb, that we kind of did think at one point that people would be like really excited to like share their content with the newsletter. It's been a little bit harder than we thought in some ways. And so after a couple of months of putting out some content, I started thinking, how can I make this easier for people? And how can we help them kind of get over that hurdle, right? And so it's one thing to have to sit down and look at a blank sheet of paper. And so we want to skip that part. We want to get to a part where it's easier. So let's see what we can do. So hopefully our special guest will be here soon and I'll introduce you when she gets here. In the meantime, we will show you this tool that we created. And we're going to show you in action. So I'm going to kind of walk you through what we're doing and how it works so you can really see the back end of it and understand it ahead of time. We're going to show you how we've already been putting it into action. And I'm going to ask some of the folks here who have already done it to share, whether that's in the chat or I'll ask you to unmic at some point and share what your experience was with it. It's been really cool, the feedback that we've been getting, like, oh my gosh, that just made that so easy. So that's the goal, right? So we'll explain the process to you and how that works and basically how to get the most out of that blog. Again, it's all about working smarter and not harder, right? So I don't want you to just I'm not saying we want you just to create a piece of content for us and that's it. We have big ideas for you. So we'll share those. We're going to brainstorm future issues where we might be able to highlight your story. And then of course, our call to action, spoiler alert, is going to be share your story. So Nikki was recently named one of the top cannabis industry power players in politics by Politics New York. And one of the things that really struck me was this quote that I put here on the screen. So she said, we need to shamelessly share our stories and the success of cannabis as medicine for so many conditions. The healthcare community must recognize that cannabis is medicine. And so, of course, she is singing all of our heart messages as well. And that is kind of the heart of what I'm going to talk about today. So I thought before we got into that, what I wanted to do was just have a quick chat with Nikki, because this is kind of the cornerstone of what she does. She's a nurse turned patient advocate. And I have her bio that I want to read to y'all because it is really, really cool the way she's got her story written out here. So, all right. So in 2016, Nikki was an active pediatric nurse who enjoyed outings with her husband and dogs. A native of Buffalo, New York, she had it all until one fateful day when everything came crashing down. During a routine vaccination, a frightened child headbutted her as she was restraining him from behind while another nurse attempted to vaccinate him. She was hit frontally and then bounced off of a plaster wall and back into the boy's head in a significant whiplash motion. This was her third TBI and the one that changed her life forever. The impact was so severe, there was immediate left arm paralysis and weakness along with severe head and neck pain. Confusion, disorientation, and vision issues occurred at the same time, and she was later diagnosed with a mild traumatic brain injury, TBI. And cervical instability, and was subsequently run through the mill of medical specialist tests and treatments. Over time, she began to experience intense headaches, issues with fine motor skills, sensitivity to light, and cognitive issues that caused her great emotional and physical pain. She became easily overwhelmed with simple tasks, no longer able to do basic math, remember appointments, or to feed her pets, and suffered from social seclusion. When conventional treatments, medications, and tests aggravated her symptoms, she was desperate for relief and turned to medical cannabis out of desperation, and it was never presented as an option for treatment to her before. So Nikki says that cannabis saved her life and gave her hope for the future again. She experimented with countless products, strains, and dosage forms, and before arriving at the conclusion that the correct strain of smoked or vaporized cannabis flower in its most natural form was a specific terpene profile and provided her the most relief. So seeing the difference that cannabis made in her life, she realized that the grief she could save other patients, and she has become an outspoken on the benefits of cannabis for head injuries. She's a member of online support groups for individuals that have suffered head injuries such as brain tumors, TBIs, concussion, and CTE. the controversial neurodegenerative disease that's caused by repeated head injuries that occur in sports like football, boxing, and other combat and high impact sports, I should say. And while she never thought that she would become an outspoken medical advocate, she knows the journey as a patient her journey is for the greater good and may have a far-reaching impact, even more than in her previous career as a nurse. So when they asked her that question in that recent interview, they said, how can the cannabis industry work with healthcare and academic professionals to educate consumers about the benefits and risks of cannabis use? And she said, we need to talk about it. We need to shamelessly share our stories and the success of cannabis as medicine for so many conditions. The healthcare community must recognize cannabis as medicine. We must educate providers in a way that they understand and recognize the harms of not allowing conversations about cannabis use. So of course, that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about sharing our story. And for that reason, I just asked Nikki if she would pop in, if she would meet our amazing community, because I know so many of you know who she is, you follow her. If you had the opportunity, she was interviewed by Michelle Diston, who is also here a couple months ago in our brain health issue for the newsletter. So Nikki, I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for your support. And I just wanted to ask you if you would kind of pep talk us a little bit, because several of us have powerful stories, but there is that thing of like, is my story powerful enough? Is my, what's my platform? And so today I have created this questionnaire that people can answer these questions, and I will help them turn it into a blog, and I will help them tell their story. But I thought maybe hearing it from you and a little bit about how basically your story is at the heart of everything that you do. So will you share a little bit about that with us? And what would you say to somebody who's still on that fence about the power of their story?
Thanks so much, Amy, for having me here. Michelle, you did a great job on my story. Thank you so much. Great seeing everyone today. Honestly, if you would have told me 5 years ago, 10 years ago that I would be doing what I'm doing, I 1000% would have said absolutely no way. I'm a child of the war on drugs. I'm absolutely blown away by all the racism and the lies and the BS that we've been told for years and years and years. As a pediatric nurse, if you would have told me your child was using cannabis for medicine, I would have called Child Protective Services. It wouldn't have been an option. It would have been literally like, it's my license on the line. You can't give your kid weed. And that's where the story would have ended. For me, the journey has been crazy. So many people know who I am just by my, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm always in polka dots and a red blazer or sweater or something like that. I say all the time, cannabis connects my dots, because it really does. And forgive me if I'm a little off site, because I have not medicated lately. I'm rushed in from a lunch and I'm just like getting situated, but truly, the plant saved my life. When I was literally at my last moment, ready to take my life, cannabis came into my life. And at the end of the day, people don't know what they don't know. And I was one of those people that didn't know anything about cannabis as medicine. Sure, I'd heard of people using it for cancer or AIDS or something like that, something, life-threatening and terminal. And I'm like, who cares if they want to get high? Go ahead, knock yourselves out. But I didn't understand any of the therapeutic benefits. We're not talked to about that in nursing school. We don't know what an endocannabinoid system is. We've never heard of that. So when I first told my story to a few people at a random Canadian cannabis event, actually, people are like, wow, what a story. And I'm like, really? I mean, you really think so? And people kept contacting me and wanting to hear more and inviting me on podcasts. And, I'm tech challenged because of the brain injury. So, learning how to get on a Zoom call was like a really big feat for me. And, it's the little things we take for granted. And I've learned that the more real I am and the more I share about my imperfections, the more accepted I am, the more people respond. And all people aren't looking for perfect people, my friends. They're looking for those people at how they deal with their imperfections. because I got all kinds of imperfections, guys. But at the end of the day, if I can help just one person just not feel alone and not feel like they're doing this for nothing. I mean, it's a real struggle monetizing advocacy because people don't see the difference we make. But I can tell you every single day, my inbox has 1 to 10 messages of, wow, that meme really resonated with me, or wow, what you said makes so much sense. And oh, I didn't know cannabis could help with brain injury. And that's what it's all about. I'm just trying to empower as many people as I can and change hearts, minds, and lives every single day, because we're only here a short time, guys, and we need to make a difference and show people that plant medicine can really change their life. And is it for everyone? Absolutely not. Just like no medication is for everyone. But try it, maybe experiment with it, and learn about the plant, and don't just take for granted that people using cannabis are just getting high. I mean, I went balls to the wall, excuse the term, yesterday with my gynecologist, because he's like, oh, if you're smoking, you literally are getting the same, carcinogens if you're smoking a cigarette. I said, no, I'm not. And like, we really had a little back and forth a little bit. And so I have this, I don't have one with me, but it's the Amazing Flower created this educational piece that's all the terpenes, cannabinoids, the family tree. It's a really helpful resource that I hand out instead of a business card. And so I gave him one, and he's like, well, where's the side effects? And I said, well, how about you look at the positives and then we can talk about the side effects, but I'm not here to feed into what you've already learned. How about we talk about something new? And you talk about first pass digestion with this guy, and he's just like, well, you shouldn't have to smoke it. You should just be able to eat it. And, you're just killing yourself another way. And I said, no, I'm really not, sir. And, you keep being nice and you keep trying to share the good news, but so many people don't want to hear it. And, maybe I just planted a seed for this guy. Maybe I didn't change his whole perception. But at the end of the day, one of his family members, or perhaps himself, is going to one day need this medicine. And then may think, hey, maybe that girl wasn't so crazy after all. Maybe her brain injury helped her out with finding a different medicine. And so I guess I just am saying, be brave about your story. Someone's going to resonate with it, and some person's life is going to be impacted by your story.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I think that some of us because the majority of the folks here have been through a cannabis coach or educator program. Not all of us, although some of us do have some medical credentials here, not all of us do. And sometimes we think to ourselves, oh, I don't have the medical credentials. They won't listen to me. So there's a little part of me that's like, even being a nurse, he wanted to go round for round with you. Like, he didn't even have respect for your credentials in that moment. You know what I mean? And so that in some small way just tells me that, yes, we still have a ways to go, and I shouldn't think too deeply into that. If he wants to go round and round with you, then, that's just still where we are. And thank you so much for sharing that message. I'm going to jump into showing people how this works. And I would love for you to hang in if you can, but you feel free to medicate as you need as well, since you've got a break time here. But what I wanted to say was that I'm going to show this because there are lots of people that you meet every day. And one of the things that we're going to use this for is for testimony, right? You don't have to be a medical or cannabis professional to use this as a way of telling your story. So you're going to run across people that can use this too. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to start sharing my screen. I'm going to share this portion of things, and then we're going to get into a little Q&A here in a little while. And I have a feeling they may want to ask you more cues than me. Okay, so here we go.
For however long you want me. So
awesome. Thank you so much. This is amazing. We're so thrilled to have you. So I'm hoping that she and I are going to be coordinating and collaborating on some more projects in the future, because I love her messaging and I love where she's going. And I am really big right now personally on this message of those of us that are advocating for this plant as medicine have got to stick together, because if we all fall apart and we're not together, that's where we're going to have problems, because big corporations are going to come in and they're going to keep us separated. So this is really important messaging, and it's at the heart of what we're talking about today. So The questionnaire that I have created is, like I said, 12 questions long. 10 of them are the main questions. And at the end, we kind of just say, do you have anything else you want to add? And do you have, did you miss anything? So it's designed to be easy to use, provided examples. We collaborate with you on this. You are not in this alone. You're not writing your story alone. And we want you to be able to use this to attract clients as well, right? So I have this thing. I don't ask people to do anything that only benefits me. I'm figuring out things that benefit the newsletter and benefit you and benefit people who are going to read it and consume it. So I'm going to click on, this is the link to the questionnaire. And so it starts off just like this. Thank you for sharing your testimonial about how cannabis has affected your health. And once you complete this form, we're going to put it into a testimonial blog style and share it back with you for review. So that's first thing to remember, is that you are not stuck with your answers on the first go round. So you start here. Now, what I want to share about this questionnaire, this is built in through our website, right? So it all routes through our website. I would like to encourage people to do this from a desktop computer. Folks who have done it from an iPad or from a phone sometimes have glitches. So it seems to work best from a desktop. You will see there is no back button. One day I hope that Kajabi gives us a back button, but right now we don't. So you can copy and paste your answers along the way, or just know that at the end I ask you, is there anything else that you left out? And you can fill it in there. And then, of course, when we go back around into the draft form, you get to reread it all. You will get an email at the end that gives you a summary of everything you sent to us. But once you go to the next question, once you hit that next button, unfortunately, there's no back right now. So I just like to warn people about that. So really simple. The first question is first name, last name, and what we typically will share is just initials. So option number one for this blog is you can be anonymous. So that's really cool, right? You don't have to use a photo if you don't want to. We can use generic imagery. We can pull a quote from your article. You can be Amy M from Houston. You can be Amy M from Texas. You can be anonymous from Texas, whatever you want to be. So that's number one. So first name and initial is what we're going to use. And I'm just going to pretend like I'm filling this out. The next one is just give us your email address. Super easy. That's done and done. So here's where the real questionnaire begins. So let's create a title for this article, or you can go rogue and create your own, but I want to make it easy. So every time you see blue is where I'm giving you the examples. So blank helped my blank and blank. So our examples are in that first line, blank one was at THC, cannabis, CBD, cannabinoids. Like you can fill in the blank there of what helped. And then the blank two is obviously which condition. So did it help anxiety, cancer, ADHD, arthritis? And I'm going to show you examples here in a minute. So you will not be left hanging to your own imagination. I'm also going to show you examples. And then blank three, what were the benefits? What improved your life? What kind of relief did you get, right? So that's question number one. I'm getting you thinking from the start where this is going. So by kind of coming up with that title first, where you're recognizing, yes, cannabis helped me with my XYZ, and then the benefits in my life are this. Now that's already kind of the roadmap to where you're going. So that's question number one. I tell people to allow themselves at least 30 to 40 minutes to sit down and fill this out so that you don't feel rushed. And again, because you don't have that back button, because you can't start it and stop it unless you just kind of filled it out and then saved it and came back later, like if you put it in Word or something. That's possible if you wanted to do that. But so we want to know how old you are, because we want to show that cannabis is beneficial to people of all ages. Now, you don't have to say I'm 46. You could say, we had somebody who recently sent one in and said something like, I'm a delightful old codger, right? Like you can be creative, you can be fun. It doesn't have to be like an actual number. You could say, like Kiona likes to say, like, I'm in my middle-essence, right? Like just kind of what we're letting people know is all people at various ages are using cannabis, right? And then where you're from. So we want to show people that people use cannabis from all over. And so already we have testimonials from all over the US and Canada. And we want to continue to show that this isn't just people in California and Colorado. This isn't just people in Canada where they have full access. We have testimonials from Texas and from all over. So, and then you have been dealing with what conditions and for how long, right? So again, what are you using cannabis for? And for how long have those challenges been in your life? And that's different for everybody. Some people have been using cannabis their whole life. Some people only came to cannabis in the last year. We want all of these stories. We want all of this variety. So again, going back to our community agreements, no self-judgment, no telling yourself, oh, I shouldn't say this because everybody else has more experience, all of that. No, we want your true, real story, because it's all the colors of this tapestry that are actually going to show how wide and far reaching the benefits are. So the challenges I was facing were blank, right? So again, I lost mobility, I couldn't sleep, I was anxious all the time, I had cancer. What were your challenges? And that caused me to feel. And that could be symptoms, emotions, or both, whatever you want to share there. So if that was, I was sad, I was scared, I was depressed, I was anxious, or if that was, I was nauseous, I was in pain, whatever. So physical or emotional, again, whichever direction you want to go. Becky Brown, who couldn't be here today, she's working, but she has a great thing that she told me once that I hold on to all the time. And what she says is that what's meant to come out will come out. And that's something that they talk about in AA when you go to tell your story, right? Is that, you know, there's a lot of people who go like, oh, what am I going to say all the right things? Am I going to tell the whole story? Am I going to miss something? And I really have held on to that now. Like when we're telling our story, I think there's this kind of this universe thing that happens of like whatever is flowing that day is kind of what's meant to come out. Whoever the receivers are, this is what they needed to receive. And you're also going to get a second crack at it. So that when you come back and read it the second time, you'll have a fresh set of eyes. And if you want to tweak, adjust, delete, add, then you get that opportunity, right? So the things that you tried before cannabis. And so again, some people may say, cannabis has been my life forever. I don't really remember life without it, but I do remember maybe that I didn't think of it as medicine before and I was using it more recreationally, and then I started using it mindfully. Or it could be I tried, like my journey, I was 13 years into these medications. I think I used my own story here for this example. Before I started my cannabis journey, I had been on several medications. I was struggling with side effects, and the side effects were outweighing the benefits of the medicine. And I did this for 13 years. I worked with my doctors and we tried multiple medications, and we just got to a point that I just never felt comfortable. And so I felt like I could have better results. And so 13 years was my answer. It was really longer than that, but 13 years of actual kind of actively trying. So did someone coach you or guide you on your cannabis journey? Shout them out here. This is important, y'all. We want to share all the ways that we got our education, because the people who are reading the newsletter, we are trying to reach people who need education and information. That's why we have a directory of cannabis coaches and educators and so on, right? We want to list you in the directory so that when they read an article where you shared a breakthrough that you've had in your life, where they've read your personal story, that they're going to go, I so identify with this and I'm going to go work with this person, right? So it's really important. And so I give some examples, whether that's a coach or an educator, whether that's, you know, you went to Amsterdam, whatever the case might be, a book, a blog, you know, I think in mine, I mentioned The Scientist about Dr. Meshulam was really profound for me. So whatever the things are, cannabis is medicine is my Bible. So, you know, all those kinds of things, right? Whatever you want to share about that portion of things. But I will say what we're already starting to see is testimonials coming in. Thank you so much to Joyce, who shouted me out in her piece, because I was a person who was educating her. We had, I think it was, Candy's piece. She was shouting out to Becky Brown, who has been a real help for her. So what we're starting to do now is not only does the Effective Cannabis Newsletter have a blog to share, not only can these people share their stories and easy ways to tell other people about their success. Now, if this is your client who has shared, now you have a testimonial that you can also share. So I'm thinking of all these layers, right? So did you struggle with the stigma around cannabis, and are you overcoming that? We really want to address stigma. So I definitely was a child of the Just Say No movement. I also kind of used my example here. We've had a lot of really interesting and cool perspectives on the stigma answer as people have submitted them. So again, we're trying to take stigma head on because we know that's part of the problem. Somebody could receive benefit from cannabis and either they just can't continue to use it because they fight with the stigma so much, or they won't even try it because they fight with stigma or misinformation or whatever. So we ask you to share and share honestly in this section. And I'll say I had somebody here in the community who told me recently that sometimes she has even wondered, like, do I really fit in? Because she doesn't vaporize, she doesn't smoke the plant, right? She only takes like edibles and tinctures. And so there's that kind of thing that can come up too. Like whatever is coming up for you, share that and we'll see how it fits into the story. And so then what type of products have you been working with and what are specifically working for you, right? So here's what I want to say about this. It's very important. We are looking for any of the following. What we don't want to do is we don't want to say brand names, right? So we're looking for what kind of ingestion methods do you prefer and how they work for you. We are looking for the type of cannabinoids and terpene effects. If that's something that you concentrate on, ratios, dose amounts, time of day. You don't have to get super specific. You can if you want to. But what we don't want to do is, because we have an international subscription, we don't want someone in Australia, someone in the UK to read about this product in Colorado that they cannot get their hands on, right? We don't want them to hear about a particular strain or chemovar that they can't find. But if we can tell them these ratios, these terpenes, and these cannabinoids are working for me, most people, even if they're kind of in prohibition places where they really, really want to try to figure out how to self-medicate and they choose that for themselves, you're giving them enough information to start working on really addressing their issue. So we're trying to show a kindness to people and not frustrate them by naming one specific product that maybe somebody else in other parts of the world can't get. So again, I gave you some good examples there for that. All right. And so then we ask you to finish these sentences: before incorporating cannabis for my condition, blank, and after incorporating cannabis for my condition, blank, right? So what were the challenges and where are you now? So it's that before and after picture that we want to show there. The absolute intention is for there always to kind of end on a note of hope or promise. That doesn't mean we don't mention all of the stuff that was hard in the middle of it, but we're hoping that you're sharing your story because this is a success story, right? And so we want to have that hope to come through there in the end. So then we just simply ask you, do you have more to tell of your story, and would you be interested in expanding on that in the future? So let's say somebody that is not known to us, we don't know their story, and we come across it and it's really, really powerful, and we know we have an issue coming up in 6 months that is like more in-depth on that particular topic. Then that's an indication that maybe we might want to reach out to them and maybe maybe Michelle interviews them or something like that. So maybe we engage with them on a different level. And then this is that catch-all there at the end. Is there anything else that you want to share about your story that wasn't covered above, and then anything you want to add? So you can just type in NA. Unfortunately, you have to type something or you can't get to the next button, but you can just type anything, but NA is fine. Or you can, if there was anything you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that I love cannabis is medicine, you can add that in here. Just anything you want us to know there at the end. And then when you finish, this is because I'm not signed in. If you're signed in, because I'm not signed in right now. And then I think at the end, you're going to get this message right here. Yes. Would you like to include a photo of yourself with your testimonial? So then this will allow you can go here and you can upload a photo if you wanted to. Let's say you had some sort of let's say you had a skin condition and you wanted to send in before and after pictures or something like that. It's up to you, but right there is your option if you decide that you want to. So that is the whole shebang on the questionnaire. That's the whole thing from beginning to end. So we try to make it simple and easy and painless. And then here are some of the results. These are some of the results of folks who have already submitted. Some of these have published officially and some of these have not officially published yet. So Candy's here has not come out. Joyce's we just saw in the recent issue. Michelle, William, Kiona, and Janae were all in the recent issue. Mine and Debbie's have not published yet. So we're collecting them along the way, and we're earmarking them now for future episodes. We also issues, I should say. We already have a couple of really cool ones for the cancer issue. So people who have cancer testimonials right now, we're asking to send those in. And then people who are seniors, we're asking for seniors right now to send their stories in, right? And for the purposes of this, I think, Debbie, what is it? Are we going 50, 55, whatever? What is the AARP? what's their number on seniors? Like, I don't think of seniors as 50 years old, right? Like, I think of it as older, but like for that sort of thing, you know, basically we're just saying, like, obviously in previous years, cannabis was maybe looked upon as just something that young people did for fun. And that's not where we are anymore. Now we know that one of the fastest growing demographics of people engaging with this plant are seniors. So we want to provide them information. We want to help destigmatize for them. So anyone who has a really good, helpful story that's in that age range. So I'll just show you really quick. This is our blog page. So what we do once we get it from you, we get your form. And one of the things we do is we start to identify tags, right? So for instance, here's Kiona's. So we always tag it as a testimonial. She mentions THC, obviously address stigma, PTSD, mindfulness. Anytime you're interacting with the newsletter here on the right-hand side, these are all the tags. These are all the keywords. And at any time you can click on. So we're on testimonial right now, and I'm looking at all the testimonials. If you wanted to look at anything written on yoga, anything on TBI, which we would bring up Nikki's story, then you would click on it and it'll bring up anything on that subject matter. So this is all of them here in a row. This is Joyce's. This is one of my favorites because she talked about coming out of the green closet. So what do? One of the first things I do is I make a really cool graphic to go along with the piece. And so we pulled a quote from hers. I sat and read through, and then Debbie and I look and see, do we have any other questions? Do we wonder, like, you know, did she leave something out? Are we thinking that there's more, you know, she can say here, more she can say here? Or we've had some people sometimes who said like 6 years in one place, but I've been working on this for 7 years in another. So we say, hey, do you want to clarify? So we put it into a Google document. We go ahead and we create subtitles where we pull pieces of what you said to kind of get that nice breakup that they do in blogs. So we create subtitles for you. We lay it all out. We run it through Grammarly, do a nice little grammar check on it. But one of the things I don't do is I don't let Grammarly go too crazy, right? Because this is your personal story and everyone has their own vernacular, right? We all have our own way of saying things. So sometimes Grammarly might suggest a more prim and proper, buttoned up way of saying something. But if I think that it's perfectly clear the way that the person has written it, I don't change it. Only if we feel like that provides further clarification. So we create the subtitles, we put it in a shareable Google file. I create, like I said, this artwork at the top. We put submitted by, and again, first name, last initial, and where you're from, get your title in there. And then at the bottom, what we do is we have this as a standard disclaimer. So this is Joyce's personal story, not meant to be medical advice. It's for informational purposes, to work with a medical cannabis professional. This is a live link to our directory. If there is anybody who is not already listed in our free directory or listed in the enhanced version because you're an ECN advocate and you want that link, I will drop that in the chat for you. Just let me know. And Alex, will you ping me when I'm done? And I'll remember to put that in there because everyone's entitled to a free listing there. And then if you need help with any terminology, we always have a glossary here, right? So you don't need to worry or stress out about, you know, terms that you're using. We have a nice glossary that they can refer to at any time. Every single piece has a unique educational opportunity at the end. So that's the other thing that I do is I create this educational opportunity. So in this particular case, we saw a theme in this month where a few people had shared stories about grief and really dealing with taking care of parents at the end of their lives and grief. So not only did Joyce's story resonate, but so did Janae's. So for this purpose, we talk about that a little bit. And basically we want to give the reader an opportunity to engage further with content if they want to. So they could immediately go to the directory, or they could say, okay, what's this piece here? And now they have been sent over to Janae's piece. Now they could read Janae's piece if they want to. And then when they get to the bottom of Janae's piece, they actually have a different something that they can go into. And this is actually from our ECS 101 section, where it's kind of talking about some of the benefits Janae got and the science behind why she probably received those benefits. So you can see that there's a plan coming together, hopefully, that all of this is trying to work into a nice unison. So what's really cool about this is past articles that have been in the Effective Cannabis Newsletter. For instance, we did this with JJ's piece on, I'm trying to remember whose it was. I can't remember. There's Williams or somebody's where we linked out to JJ's piece at the end, because she had done one that was really good about, I think it was the one about listening to your gut. And it resonated with one of these pieces here. And so then we connected it back out. So it's a really cool callback, right, to older issues and pieces and being able to bring them forward again, because some of this content, you guys, is so good. It needs to be seen, and we want to find as many ways and opportunities for people to see it. So that's been the plan so far. And so I'm really excited that we've actually got some good tangible stuff. I would like to invite anyone who has already done this to unmic if you want to, or well, raise your hand because there's several of you so that I can call you in an order. But anyone who's already done this, and will you kind of share maybe what you were thinking going into this process, and then what your feeling was on the flip side when you were done? Because even Debbie didn't know what I was doing. I was like, hey, fill this out. Because I had no idea if this was going to work or not. It was completely to my shock and surprise that not only did it come out really cool, that I have not had to even really alter the flow very much. They're actually almost going in 100% in the same order as when we receive them. It's just, I feel like it's a universe thing. I genuinely feel like the universe spoke through me to create this, because I'm not sure, like, I'm pretty smart, but I don't know how I actually did this. I feel like the universe intervened. So, hey, it's Candy.
Hi, it's super noisy over here because we got virtual school going right beside me. But anyway, I kind of knew what you wanted me to do, but then I was like, whatever, I'll do it. So filling it out, it just, it was really simple and easy and straightforward. And I felt like it allowed me to kind of put that story together without having to write the whole story, because it was in little chunks, right? It just made it a lot easier for me. So yeah, it was a cool experience. I thought it was really easy. It only took a few minutes. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You know, one of my favorite things is because I have been spending so much time with you all. Many of you I mentored through the coaching and educator program. Many of you have been coming here to the Grow House for, you know, as long as it's been around. And so one of the fun things that I get to do is, like, I know that Candy loves rainbows. And of course, I know Candy is a musician, and that was something that another gift cannabis gave her, was she got music back in her life, where she had really stepped away from it for a while. So when I get to do these art pieces, like, I know that Joyce loves gardening. And so I knew that green closet full of all of those plants, and she's really good at, like, I see pictures on her social media and stuff. So I knew how much that would resonate with her. I know William doesn't want to show his face very much. He's more of he likes to be an enigma. So we have the shadow of the guy with the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So it makes me excited, because I love finding these pieces that really show your personalities and really convey your stories authentically. So I won't always get to do that maybe with people I don't know as well, but that's where I tap into my empath spidey skills. They usually come through for me and help me out anyways, because I can infer into the story and find something that works. So
yeah, I feel the same way, that it's nice to have prompts, so you know where you're going. Like, I could write my story. Well, I probably did in all sorts of different areas, journaling and you know, probably 5 or 6 different times I wrote my story, never put it anywhere. And then with these nice prompts, it just really simplifies, you know, putting that out, and me just answering the questions seemed easy enough. And then when you did your magic and put it all together and it came back in a blog, it's like, oh, that's so much nicer. Like, it really, I can see how it fits, and you've got like captivating titles to bring each of those. It's not just question answer. Like, you just shape it nice, and it just comes out magically.
And what I will say is, Michelle did just have a client fill it out, And it has turned into this beautiful testimony for working with Cannawell with Michelle. So I'm so excited because it's kind of coming to this fruition of what I had hoped, because I think that particular one we're hoping will appear in our harm reduction issue, which is going to be coming up soon. And it's a powerful story for cannabis, for harm reduction. It's a very powerful story of personal triumph for him. And it's a really powerful story of working with a cannabis coach and how quickly something that felt so dire could turn around. So thank you, Michelle, for kind of being one of the first to bring your client and for us to test drive that end. And we're learning from that. And that's what I want to share here in a moment, is that next piece of things. Hi, Angel.
Hi. So I just wanted to quickly share that, sometimes I have a very difficult time to find my voice. And and like you said, Amy, sometimes your critter brain takes over. And when you sent this over to me, I was just like, I went into panic mode. It's like almost a fight or flight kind of thing. But then once I started going through it, I felt very at ease. I mean, having those prompts and those examples really helped a lot. And so when I came out of it, it wasn't a flight. It was more of a fight. And I was like, yes, I did that. I was really happy with how everything flowed really nicely. So thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, so you and a couple other people have sent some in that I haven't even began to edit yet. So they're on my list to do probably here in this next week. And so it's really cool because what I got from you was this great, like you were like, I got a little victory out of this. Like it was that moment of like, okay, the light bulb kind of came on for me. And so if anyone's ever looking for a quick win, right? Like sometimes we're just having a day where it's like, whatever it is, whether it's tech issues, whether we're kind of feeling down on ourselves, if you need a quick win, filling this out can be fun because it's turned into, Kiona said, she was like, this was really a big deal for me because you just made it so easy. Joyce said the questions were so thoughtful. I love the prompts that were specific, reminding me not to forget those. Yeah. I really appreciate all this. Let me go back to sharing my screen really quick and I'll finish kind of a couple of other things I wanted to share with you and then we can get into like a real good Q&A. So anyways, yeah, the process, you submit the questionnaire, our team reviews it, and then we send you back a draft in a Google Doc form and we can collaborate on changes. So you'll actually see some notes from us on the side. And then you'll reread it because there's times when, I've done a little Grammarly tweak or whatever, but I let you know kind of what we've tried to do. And if we want to prompt you, we have these little notes on the side that say, you might say more about this, or how did this help you? Can you say more, kind of a thing? And then once everyone agrees on that final draft, then we're ready to publish. And then we'll let you know in which ways that can be published. So we may identify a particular issue that we want it to come out in. We may just go ahead and release it on the website and have it be live, even though it's not in an issue, so that it is live in real time, that you can share it whenever you want. And then if we have a future issue earmarked for it. So we have some options there. And then, so what's really cool is from there, then the sharing gets to begin, right? So now you can share it too. So you can take that piece and you can take, you'll have it in a Google form. So if you want to just kind of recreate it yourself, you may want to add whatever you want to do, right? Or you can share the link out. You can put it in your newsletter. You check out my story. It's on the Effective Cannabis Newsletter website with the link. You can share it social media, including your LinkedIn. For some reason, I had to put that on there because some reason my brain doesn't think of social media as LinkedIn. I just think of LinkedIn as like a business platform. So I had to say social media and LinkedIn. And then, of course, for those of you who have gone through my one-pager course that I offer and who have one-pagers of your own, absolutely add your story to your one-pager too. It's a blog piece, right? Even if it's not from yours, it's a blog piece. So you can do that too. So those are all the different ideas and ways of doing that. And so then here's that last bonus feature we've been dancing all around. So I want to talk about that a little further. So we can now use this questionnaire to share our clients and their successes too, right? So it doesn't have to stop with just you. And what's cool about it is anonymity is an option. So that might feel more comfortable to your clients. And then what I suggest, and this is what Michelle was talking about, I suggest you actually work with them to help them tell their story. A lot of clients are not going to feel as comfortable, particularly like around the dosing and stuff, right? So what I would suggest is that you coach them through talking, talk it through. Here's what the questions are going to be. What do you feel comfortable answering? What might you not feel comfortable answering where you need my help or support, right? So you could give them a little bit of guidance, particularly probably around how they want to address dosing or something like that. We really do want it to be genuinely from them, right? When you're helping a client do it, but let them put into their own words how they learned from you and what that experience. Let them talk about stigma in their own words. If you want to prompt them, just like you would in a coaching session, great, do that. You may be able to even incorporate that for those of you who are doing coaching sessions. This could be your celebration at the end, right? Let's say you're doing a program with someone, you do 6 weeks, 8 weeks with them. This could be part of your celebration session, even to invite them to do this and share their story. But it can work out great for you where you can pull some quotes that you can use for testimonials. You could share the entire blog. It just can turn into a lot of things using creativity. And what will happen is you're letting these people know who are engaging with this plant and getting the same benefit that we are. Maybe it's so funny. Maybe not everybody gets the benefits and goes into this as a career, as all of us did. But for those who haven't, they still are providing a huge benefit by sharing their story, because there is somebody else out who will hear their story and say, oh, maybe it can help me too. I want to thank you guys. I want to ask you to join us. We want to track our successes. We want to grow our businesses. We want to advocate for this plant medicine. And we can do that by sharing our story far and wide. I really appreciate what Nikki does and encouraging us today to do the same. And we want to, if you want to focus your business more on growth, if you like some of these ideas and these things that I'm doing, of course, please always, you can check out the ECN Advocate membership at effectivenewsletter.com. Yes, it's because we have lots of other tools over there too, but this is one that we just really wanted to focus on today. So Miss Debbie,
Yes,
of course,
ma'am.
is the founder of the newsletter. So what we do is we do this thing where she lets me run my mouth, and then I say, "What do you want to say, Deb?"
I first want to say that filling out this form for me, and I've been telling my story for 6 years now, almost 7. And yes, it grows over time because you have to learn to settle into what you've accomplished and what you're learning. And it's a continual journey. So the really cool thing about this is that you tell your story the first year. If you come back and tell it the second year, guarantee you there's going to be something different. When I filled out the form, it brought out things I haven't shared with people before. Didn't think about it. It's just the prompts and the way that she put them together. So it made it really cool for me to be able to say, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff I still have to share, because I think when we get into this business and working in cannabis and getting so stuck and trying to make sure we teach everyone, we don't always take the time to give ourselves the credit for all the things that we are doing for ourselves and seeing them and putting them down. I used to document crazily at the beginning of every little change that happened. And as time's gone on and as busy as I've got doing all this stuff, I kind of forget to sometimes do that. And just doing your story like this, I think every year or every 6 months is powerful, because it's amazing how much your body changes and how many new things you discover in that time. So I see this as a time capsule that just continues to grow. And the other cool thing about it is, because I'm so much into research, when I read these articles and start seeing all the different cannabinoids and terpenes that people talk about by specific medical conditions, I light up, because this is what we need. We need to be able to identify what is helping those conditions and how it works. And so this is a powerful tool beyond just telling your story. And it will be used that way by just collecting data. So, don't think this is a one and done thing. It's far from that. This is something that can grow and continue to grow. And I appreciate every one of you for being here. And thanks for everyone that participates, because our stories are what's going to make us change the way medicine is viewed around the world.
True, but I am telling you guys, I have been having a lot of private conversations with Nikki, with other folks in the industry. We are starting to see some really concerning things about people who are really amazing leaving this industry because they're getting tired and frustrated and they have good hearts. And we are starting to see these bigger corporations get more and more and more of the market share, and they are less and less interested in cannabis as medicine. They are looking at that high THC and all of that. And so this is a way of us staking a claim and holding space for advocating for this plant, because should this thing become federally legal, should they deschedule it, we have got to be careful that these big corporations don't run over the medicinal use of this plant. And we look up and it's full of pesticides, and it's, you know, it's in forms and you know, that we know are not really medicine anymore. So unless we stick together, unless we have a nice voice that can come together as one, and that's why I just feel so strongly about this. I thank everybody for coming today. I thank you so much, Nikki. I can't even tell you how important it was for me to have you come today, because, you know, I'm kind of like the old teacher that's been around for a hot minute, nagging everybody, and having like the cool new teacher come in and be like, yeah, no, she knows, she's right. Yeah, do this. I appreciate it so much, because we've all been inspired by you. And sometimes we all can, you know, get, like I said, just kind of get in our way a little bit. And so we just appreciate what you're doing, and we are back here cheering you on and lifting you up.